So in this class we have seen up to actions, and in this class let us see one more action, that is, so we have seen one part of URL action. Okay, now let us see in that actions we have multiple types. Let us say go for drill through action. Okay, so like in SSRS we have the drill through report, like that in SSAS also we have the drill through action. So let us see that what does that do. So let us click on new drill through action. Okay, so let us give some drill through action. Okay. Some space, or else we will put it in a square bracket. Okay, now action target measure group members. Measure group members is nothing but a, we have this particular type of measure groups. Okay, now let us go and see for which measure group you want to create an action. Okay, for which measure group it is asking for. If you want to create a drill through action, so it should be done on which measure group. Okay, now let us say that it is not showing all the dimensions, it is showing only the measure groups. Okay, so drill through action, okay, can be applied on the measure groups only. And do you want to apply any filter condition? Okay, if you want to apply some filter condition, we can apply some filter condition here, and you can see it is optional. Okay, now here you can see that we have one drill through column. So if you remember the drill through report, okay, so when I click on particular employee ID, okay, so when I click on particular employee ID, it should open a his employee information like employee ID, name, his phone number, his address, his city. Okay, like that it should display the his employee details in a separate page. That is called drill through report. Here also we have a sales group. Okay, we have a sales measure. Okay, we have a sales measure. Okay, when I click on that sales amount or tax amount, okay, let us see whether I click on the sales amount, what are all the columns it should pop up. Now you can see here, you can select the list of, now you can see if I select on let us say dim product category. Okay, and you can see here in that dimension, okay, dim product category, what are all the columns you have, it will display, it will show us the list of columns which I want to display. We can select the, in that dimension we have these three attributes, and which column you want to display, let us select it. Okay, and now let us say from subcategory I want to display the subcategory name in a separate pop-up window. Select that. Like that, we can select for whichever column, whichever dimension, whichever columns you want to display. Let us say I want to display the calendar year and monthly from this attribute, from this dimension. Now, let us say from dim product, I want to display the color and the product. Okay. Now I want to display from the measures. Okay. From the measures, we have the, in that sales measure group, which cover column, whichever fact value you want to display, I want to display the sales amount and tax. Now you can see what will happen is under the sales group, okay, under the sales measure, when I right click on the sales measure, these are all the columns will be shown in a pop-up window or in a separate page. That is called drill through action or drill through report. In SSRS, the same functionality is there, right? Drill through report. Here also we have a drill through action. So whenever I click on the sales measure, okay, sales amount measure, so a separate page will open, okay, or separate Excel sheet will open with these details appended. Okay, now let me see. So let us see that if you want to include some action, if you want to include some action, you can go for it. Okay. And if you can set the maximum rows you want to display. You can see we have an option to select how many rows you want to display. Okay. Let us say 100. And what is the application? Okay. So mm, and one more thing is invocation is interactive. Interactive means so it should respond from the third party tools when you are working it when you are invoking this SSAS from SharePoint or any third party tool. So this SSAS cube should be interactive or not. Okay, should be interactive or not. Mm, if you are calling from any application name, you can call specify that application name. Okay. Now let us see that. Give some caption like so this application name is nothing but if you are calling it from a web page, if you want to open one web page and you want to append that product name, you can go and append that. Okay, which application you want to open, that you can specify here. Okay, or if you want to call a specific application web browser web page, you can specify the web page here. And let us give some caption like open EMP, or let us say sales details. Specify the open sales details as caption. Now what I want to do is whenever I click on any sales measure group, okay, this caption will come, and when I click on this caption, these details about that particular sale, okay, all those details will be shown here. Now let me click on save. Now let me browse and see what is the tilt reaction. Let me process it. Process is succeeded. Let me go for now. Let me go to the browser. Let me reconnect or refresh. Okay, I'm going to reconnect. Now let me see whether that browser. So we have one sales. So I'm dragging and dropping the sales. And let me drag and drop the dim product product name. And let me see whether any right click is there. So we are not able to see it here. Now let me export it to Excel sheet. Let me analyze the data in Excel sheet and let us see that action information, action caption will come in the Excel file or not. So we already seen that URL action is coming. Now let me take any sales amount and let me put any product name. Okay. Now let me right click on this and we have additional actions. So you can see here open sales details caption is coming. Okay, So for the sales measure group field, okay, additional action, open sales details. Now you can see that it is opening a separate sheet which contains category name, subcategory name, order date month, order date year, okay, and color, so the color information, okay, the color information, and you can see that sales amount and tax amount, okay, like this. So a separate Excel file is open. Now let me go and see. So for this all purpose bike stand, let's say if I introduce color, now I can see only one color is there. I mean, only one color is there. Now so particular sales, okay, now you can see, so it is showing about grand total is coming here, particular product, particular color, okay, and it is total sales it is showing. Now is there any two color sales is there? Let me see, is there any two color sales? So it is not showing a particular product in different color sales. Go for, now let me remove the product and let me go for product category name. So now it has particular multiple categories. So let me click on particular clothing. Let me go for additional actions and open sales details. Now you can see that total 100 rows will be displayed, and you can see the category name, subcategory name, and what is the 2007 July month. Okay, so it is showing for particular July month, and you can see that if it is multiple color sales are there, okay, you can see that multiple color information and how much is the sale amount and tax amount of that particular category. Right. And if you are showing only 100 records, okay, now you can see top 3 records are allocated for headings. Okay, so total 100 records we are able to display. Okay, so that is about deal to action. Okay, so this is about deal through actions in which we can open this selected, whatever the selected fields here, all these fields will be included in the separate file. All these fields will be open in a separate tab. Okay, like this. So that is called deal through action. So when this will be useful is, as usual I will say, suppose if I am a customer and I am seeing that particular product sales is particular product sales is very high, or whichever product is very less, okay, I can see that by seeing the main report, and if I want to know that particular product information, let us say if a particular product is having highest sales and I want to see about that product details, like which colors we have that product, okay, and how many stock is there and how much stock I have to keep it in ready, okay, like those details. Or if the customer is viewing the employee wise sales details, and if I come to know that so and so employee is doing very good sales, if I want to give some bonus to him, and I want to see his employee name, his address, his mobile number, okay, in which branch he is working, so that I can get his personal information and I can use some additional bonus like that. Okay. So in those cases, this filter action is useful. Okay, we have one more action called, we can see here, new reporting action. Okay. New reporting action is nothing but if you want to call any report from SSAS, okay, at that time we can use this new reporting action. Just a minute. So if you want to call any report, okay, to SSAS, then you can use this reporting action. Okay. Now let us see what will happen. So we have an option called, you can go and click that. Third one, that is new reporting action. Now you can see if you want to call any report, SSRS report, you can call this as a report action. And now you can see target type and condition, okay, target object, and you can see the in which server your report is located, means that report server name. Okay, and you can see the target type 11 members. Okay, so when I am explaining the URL action, so what are all the target type options are there? All those options means for which column if you want to put this report action for so and so particular attribute like product name or color or category, whatever the attribute means dimension column or dimension field, we'll call it as attribute numbers. Okay, and now you can see when I select attribute members, it is displaying the list of dimensions we have, and we can select for which dimension field. Now you can see under the dim product we have so many fields. Okay, and for which attribute, let us say for subcategory name, when I right click on the subcategory name, if you want to call any SSRS report, you can select this. Or if I want to go for product name, you can go and select this. Okay, whichever field you want. And after selecting this, do you want to apply any filter condition? You can apply. Okay, you can put any filter condition like let us say for so and so product you don't want to apply this option, then you can select put that product information here, and you can see that what is the report server name and what is the report path. So report server name is nothing but what is the report server name, your SSRS report server path. Okay, and you can specify the, after that we can specify the in that server name what is the actual path. You can go and specify that. And what is the output you want to put. Let us say if you want to generate an Excel output, you can select it as Excel, and if you have that report has any parameters, you can add those parameters here. Okay, so this is nothing but a link URL action for which you want to open any SSRS report here. You have to give the report server name and report path, what is the format you want to export. Okay, and if you have any report parameters, you have can specify like this. And as usual, you can see here one additional properties where you can specify the caption also here. Okay, like this. So this is how we have to if you want to open any SSRS report, you can just specify all those details and click on it. So basically we don't do this way because SSRS report server is a separate section. Okay, so we don't call maximum, we don't use use this option at all. Okay, very less they have used. Why? Because we have a separate SSRS report section, and we have that is no need to call all those reports from the database level. Mainly we'll go through this drill through action or URL action. Okay, so this is about action sections. Okay, so by this we have completed about the SSAS, and we have completed about this cube information. We have covered cube. structure. Okay, we have selected the cube dimensions and fact tables as a group tables here, and using dimension usage we have built the relationship between the dimensions and the fact tables, and after that we have gone for partitions to fetch the data to improve the processing time. Okay, we have used the multiple partitions. Okay, so by this we can fetch the data very fastly. And after partitions we have seen how to create aggregations. Okay, so to improve some more performance we have gone to the aggregations and we have selected on which particular fields we need full aggregations, and whichever the fields we are not using we don't want the aggregations on that. Okay, and we have seen the usage based. Okay, usage based aggregations, and after that we have gone for perspectives. So perspectives is a part of a queue. How to separate a part of a queue so that I can give permission for so and so people only on that part of the queue. And after that we have seen calculations. If you want to include some calculations, you can go and include some calculations. Okay, and we have explained what is the difference between the calculations creating a data source view level and the calculations creating a cube level. And after that we have explained about key performance indicators. Okay, and after this we have explained about actions, and translations is nothing but, so we have in actions we have three types of actions: URL and through action and report action. And translations is nothing but if you want to translate your cube to the multiple languages, we can select that. We can convert our each product name or each attribute name in a different language. Okay, and browser is for browsing the data, cube data, and we are left with processing options, different processing options. So when we click on process, whenever we click on process, now you can see whenever you click on process, now let us see that in the cube structure, in the actions, so we have not specified full details. So let me remove this. Okay, let me remove this report action. Now let me click on process. So whenever you click on queue processing, right? Which one we are processing now? We are processing the queue. Okay. So when I try to process the queue, we can see here we have the process options, and we can see we have the list of multiple process options here. We have process default, full, data, structure, clear, index, and okay. Now when I process at entire solution level, when I process at entire solution level, when I click on process at solution level, so we have different processing options. We have only three processing options here: such default, full, and clear. And when I try to process any dimension separately, now you can see when I try to process a dimension separately, we have some more options here. So apart from the regular process full default, we have data, index, and update. So let us see that what are all these different processing options. Okay. Now let us see at solution level first. So this is one of the important interview question. What are all these options and what is there, how it is useful. Now process full is nothing but, okay, when I select process full, what will happen is, this is your SQL database, okay, and you are using the SSAS solution. You are fetching the data from SQL, and here you are collecting the full process. Okay. Now using SSAS solution, what you are doing, you are putting the data in the SSAS cube database. Okay. When I click on first time full process, what will happen is, whatever the dimensions you have created, whatever the fact measures you have created, for all those dimensions and facts. Okay, it will get the data. Okay, first of all, it will create these dimensions and fact tables here with the appropriate columns, and it will fetch the data from the SQL and load it into these dimensions and as well as measure group tables. Okay, data loaded like this. Now, whenever you click on process fill, what is happening is whenever you are clicking on process, what will happen is it will first of all it will drop this existing structure. It will drop the existing tables and it will recreate again. It will recreate all the dimensions and fact tables one more time, and after recreation it will again push the data from scratch. Okay, so it is try to building the cube database from scratch again. It will drop the existing structure of the dimensions and existing fact tables, and it will recreate those tables, and after that it will reinsert the data. Let us see that. Now whenever I click on process, you can observe that I am selecting the process full. When I click on run, what will happen is now you can see it is processing measure group, sales group. Okay, and you can see the number of score. Okay, it's going on processing the data. Now table sales, you can see here this partition sales is completed and it has fetched almost something like 9 lakh records. Okay, so under this you can again see here it has processed the queue, and after that it has processed the category dimension, and you can see that how many rows have been read. 5 rows, 5 rows, 5 rows, 5 rows means all the distinct fields it has fetched from those columns, and you can see each and every 38 rows, 5 rows, 38 means it is fetching the every time it is recreating the cube database. Now you can see here, let me click on one more time run. Now every time what it will do, again it is fetching the entire data of the sales. Now you can see again it is fetching the entire data. You can see again it is fetching the entire data. Okay, whenever you click on process, now if you process one more time, what it will do is it will delete the existing cube structure and it will reprocess from the starting position. It will recreate the entire cube database again. Now you can see entire database. Okay, processing measure group, processing sales. Okay, now you can see it has processed everything. Okay, I have processed the measure groups. Okay, then it is picking again. When I right click and process at solution level, now you can see everything every time it is doing that. Okay, every measure group and every dimension data will be reprocessed one more time. It will get the data one more time. So it is a time taking process. Okay, so there is, even though there is no change, is it is refreshing, it is recreating the cube database from the starting position. That is called process 4. Suppose let us say that you want to fetch your data, live data from SQL to cube database. So for every 1 hour, let us say right now I have only 10 lakh records. Okay, suppose let us assume that you have 100 crores of record, 100 crores of record. Okay, and now maximum we can achieve is what 1 lakh record in 2 seconds. Let us say you can fetch 1 lakh record in 2 seconds. So for 100, for fetching 100 crores of data. So let us say for 1 crore of data you require 200 seconds. 200 seconds, let us say it is equal to 3 minutes. Okay. 200 seconds is equal to 3 minutes. So for 1 crore of data you require 3 minutes. For 100 crores you may require how many minutes? 300 minutes. 300 minutes is nothing but is almost equal to 3 hours. Okay, let us say 3 hours. So for processing your cube database, if you take 3 hours to fetch hundreds of crores of data, okay, and how you can refresh your cube database on every hour. Okay, so because once you process only, your cube database will get with the latest data, will load with the latest data. And if you have high volume of data and if you select this process full option, which is going to recreate the cube database from starting, then it is definitely wrong, definitely not possible to load your data every hour, every 1 hour. To load the cube data every 1 hour is not possible when you select this process full option. Okay. Now let us say that, hmm, let me go to the data source view. So let us say, in this dim product, let me go to this dimension. So let us add one key column. Let us say that English product name is already there. Let us add the standard cost. Let us add the standard cost, okay, to my dimension, and let me select. Yeah. Now I have added only the standard cost to my dimension. Now let me click on process. But here, now let me select. Now let me select the process default option. Let us go for process default option. Let us see what it will do. Now you can see that. So now you can see that processing queue. Okay, is it processed any records now? No. For the dim product table, now you can see it has processed only the 397 rows. Okay, selected. Okay, for the particular attribute we have added. Okay, now we can go for processing measure group sales. Okay, processing partition sales completed, and table book author 7 rows. Now 4 rows, and in this process dimension, so it has processed only the uh, dimension which we have added the standard cost. Okay, now I have added some change. Okay, and it has processed the measure groups. Okay, and you can see here it is not processing all the dimensions. You can see in which dimension I have some change, only that particular dimension is processed. Okay, now let me close. Now let me run it one more time, process default. Okay, without any changes, I am running only the process default. Let me do the process default. Now let me select the process default option. So I have not done any changes. Okay, I have not done any changes, and now let me run it. Now you can see. So is it processing the dimensions again? Okay, is it processing the dimensions again? Now you can see that processing cube, and also you can see processing partition sales complete, and we can see is there any number of records is doing number of records is fetched again? No. So what it will do is it will do the, if you want to process your cube in a best way, if you want to process your cube in a best way, then we have to go for this default option. So if there is no changes happen, it won't recreate the entire database again. It will load only the changes. Okay, it will load only the changes happen to the previous processing and this process. Okay, if I do any changes, let me do some changes. So let me do some changes like let us say for dim date, let me go to this dimension and we have quarter, semester, year, or let me go for category. Now let me add we have the Spanish name, let me add the French name. Okay, so I have done some change. When now after doing some change, let me save it. Okay, now it will, you can go and check only this particular dimension data will be processed. When I select default process default option, now only it is loading some data, that too only that particular dimension data. Not all the dimension data is reprocessed again. So it will it will take the best way of processing your cube. Now you can see only one product, one dimension, that is uh, product category. So you can see the dimension name dim product category is completed. Only that particular dimension is processed and it has loaded with the new data. Okay, and since the dimension is changed and there is a relation between the dimension and the sales table, and there is a relation between the dimension and the sales measure, and you can see that sales data is refreshed and you can go and see it has processed. Since you have changed the dimension and it is checking the, maybe that fact table also has some relationship, no? So it will be reprocessing all the fact measure group records, measure group tables. And if there is no change, now you can go on without any change, reprocess, and you can see, okay, let us see one more time. Now you can see it is just not loaded any data. Okay, you can see processing measure group. So any data is loaded. Okay, like that. Okay, it is not processing any cube dimension. No. Means dimensions is it processing? No. It will take the best way to load your cube database. Okay, and this time it won't take 3 hours for loading 100 crores of data also. It won't take 3 hours. It will just whatever you only take the changes. Okay, and we have one more option at solution level, that is we have process clear. If you want to delete the existing data, then you can go and select this clear option. We have one more option is process clear. So process clear is nothing but if you want to delete the existing data, then you can go and select the process clear option. Okay. It will clear the already, it will clear all dimensions and fact tables. Okay. Now clear means delete. Okay. Now let me go for dimensions and let us see that processing option, different processing options available at the dimension level. Now here you can see that we have process default. Process default is if any changes happen, then only it will reprocess. Process full means it will start from starting position. It will drop the existing dimension and it will recreate, and after recreation it will load the data. Process clear means to clear the entire data of the dimension. And now you can see that we have process data and process index. Data on index. What is nothing but if you want to process only the data, then you can go for and select this option. And we have process index. Okay. So before creating the table, after creating the table, so it will create an index on the table, and after creating index, it will load the data into the table. Okay. So let us see what is happening. So in the case of process full, what is happening? Now let us say it is getting the data from SQL table. Okay, using SSAS solution, okay, it is getting, okay, and it is loading into Cube database. Okay, it is loading into Cube database. So in the case of processful, what is happening is it will recreate. It will recreate the dimensions and fact tables. Okay, but when I click on processful, so what it will do is it will create the table here and it will load the data from SQL to SSAS, and after loading the data it will create indexes on this existing tables. It will create indexes on this tables. While creating the index, okay, is it necessary to have a connection to be still present? So one more thing is, let me clear. So when it is loading the data, okay, first of all what it will do, it will create a SQL connect, will create a connection to my SQL database, and after creating a connection it is loading the data to my Cube database. So data is getting loaded. Okay, so after loading the data it will create an index on the existing tables. It will create an index in the data source view. It will create an index on the creating an index on the tables. Now, is it necessary to build the connection here when you are creating the indexes? Is it necessary to have a connection still exist, still open? No need, no? So, you no need of once the data is loaded, you can kill this connection. And we can, after this, we can create our indexes on the Cube database level. So you don't need this connection still exist when you are creating the indexes. But when you select processful, once it is loaded, if you select processful, it will recreate. First step is create the tables. Second step is loading the data. Third step is creating the indexes on the tables. Okay, creating the indexes on the tables. When the first two steps is done, you don't need this connection now, and you can remove the existing connection and you can create a index separate. But if you take processful, the connection will still exist until you finish the third step. But when you select process data, what is happening is it will just load the data. It will create the table and it will just load the data. Okay, and after loading the data, first you can load the data. After loading, again you can select process index to create an index on the Cube database tables. Okay, so process data plus process index is both are equal to, combination is equal to processful. Okay, so but you are splitting the steps. Okay, so this process data plus process index is equivalent to the processful, but if you are doing it individually. Okay, and it is proved that if you instead of processful, if you do process data plus process index, it is faster than processful. Okay, so it will load the data, okay, very fastly. Instead of processful, if you split that data and index into separate steps. Okay, understood? So process data plus process index, process data plus process index is equal to processful. Okay, but only advantage is once the data is loaded, you no need to maintain the connection. You can remove the connection and you can do the index separately on your Cube database. These both are is equal to processful. Okay, now we have one more option called process update is there. Process update is nothing but is a combination is a it will load only the changes. Okay, process update is load only the changes. Okay, uh, that were made before the previous processing. but it has to do the comparison. It has to do the comparison, okay, between the old data and the new data. Between the old data and the new data. Suppose if I do that process update, only the changes will get loaded. But let us say if you are doing a process update, if you have added a new record, or you have modified the existing record, then it will load only those two records. It will load only the modified record, and it will load the new record. Okay, but to do that, it has to compare with the old data of the dimension. Okay, that comparison will take time. Only that comparison again will take time. But it will load only the updated data, only the modified data. Okay, so let us go for this is about dimension level. We have seen at few entire solution level. Okay, at dimension level, let me go for cube level processing. So in the cube level, you can see here we have process full, default, data, clear, index. We have already there. Okay, now we have process structure. Process structure is one of the best option. Process structure is nothing but, so let us say that what it will do is it will process only the structure of the table. It won't process the data. It won't process the data. Okay, it won't process the data. It will just process the structure of the existing cube items. Okay, now this is at cube level. No, if I select this cube process structure, what will happen is it will process only the structure of the table. Okay, we have one measure groups. Okay, now you can see here this process is succeeded. Okay, it will process only the structure of the table. Now you can see no records. Okay, only the structure will get processed. What is the importance of this? When you will process only the structure, okay, means when we have multiple partitions, let us say that when I go for cube, okay, when I go for partitions, now you can see that we have that at each partition level also. Now you can see if you want to process, right click, so we can process the partition level also. Okay, now you can see let us say that you have some issue is coming. Okay, you have some issue and it is showing the all the measure groups first. It is showing all the measure groups. Now let us say that we have one let us say you have one problem on the sales partition. Okay, now let us say this partition, this measure group contains, this measure group table contains 1 crore of data. This measure group table contains 1 crore, 1 crore and 1 crore. So total 4 crores of data is there in all these measure group tables. But when you click on process, what will happen? It has to process each and every cube, each and every partition data. Means you have to process all the 4 crores of data. But you have problem only in the sales level, sales measure. You don't have problem on these 3 partitions. The issue exists in the sales measure group. Okay, then unnecessarily, if you process this 1 crore of data, that is enough, no? Unnecessarily, you are processing the data of remaining measure groups. Then, in that case, you don't need the data. Don't need the data of these 3 measure groups. And what you can do is you can take the process structure of these measure groups. Now you can see you can process at each partition level also. Now you don't need the data of this measure. Just only the you can select only the structure option. Okay, we can just select only the structure option. First of all, you can select only the, now you can see You can select at cube level, you can select only the structure option, and it will get only the structure. Let us see. At the cube level, you can select only the structure. Means it will process only the structure of your measure group tables. Okay, after getting the structure, okay, whichever measure group data you want to process, now you can see it is not processing the data, it is just processing the structure of the data. Okay, now after processing the structure, you can go to your partition section. Now which you are interested on, which partition, you can select that partition and you can process it again. Now you can see, if you are having issue in this particular partition, you can go to that particular partition and you can process that. Now you can see at each partition level, okay, we have the process data option is there. Now you can see at each partition level, you can reprocess one more time, whichever you want. Okay, that is so. By using this process structure, you are avoiding the filling of data of unwanted sales measures. Okay, unwanted measure group data. Okay, we can just process the cube level, process structure at cube level, and after coming to this partition, whichever measure group partition data you want to load, you can load only that measure group data. Okay, so these are all the different options available in the processing level, at cube level, okay, at dimension level, at solution level. So then what is the best option of processing is process default. It will follow the best way of loading your or refreshing your cube. Okay, so this is one of the interview question. They will ask you that if the process fully is recreating the entire database, and if you have high volume of data, and if for processing itself it will take 1 hour, okay, and every 1 hour if you want to refresh the data, then what you will do? At that time you can select the process default option, okay, which will load the data, which will load the your cube data in the best way. And another important one is process structure. They will definitely ask about what is the use of process structure. It will process only the structure of the existing fact measure group tables. It won't process the data, and you can go to the partition, and whichever measure group data you want to load, you can load only that particular measure data. Okay, these are all the two options. So by this we have completed our SSAS class. Okay, and we have covered all the options present in this. Okay, Kaushik. So I will send these recordings. I will send the pending recordings, and I can send all the recordings for all the classes. Okay. Any doubts? So just practice it. So you will be easily understanding that how to. It will be very easy for you to know how to create a cube database. Thank you. So we have completed the SSAS classes by this. Okay. Thank you, Kaushik. So I will take a SSAS class in 2 minutes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Abhi, for listening the classes. So Ishan, I will complete. I will connect in 2 minutes again. Okay.
Okay.